showed my wife my first attempt at a Whiteboard Wednesday, and she said that I looked more like I was planning a bank heist and not so much that I was teaching about budgeting. So in response to her reaction to my beanie and t-shirt, I dressed myself up a little bit today, and same message, perhaps a little bit more decked out messenger. But today I want to talk about two related principles. The first one, in relation to budgeting, is talking about how much effort you give versus how much return you're getting. And you notice on the x-axis here, I've got effort, so we're increasing our effort as we move this way. And on the y-axis, I've got your return. So return would be your awareness is increased, your communication with your spouse is improved, your spending is aligning itself more with what you really value, and so you're feeling more contentment even though you aren't earning any more money. That type of situation, that's all part of the return. Just mainly, but not always, just these intangibles that come with managing your money proactively. But we get people that will send in their file for us to look at, fix sometimes, or just to troubleshoot, and we will have, I'll take a look at it. I've seen hundreds of them. I could never pick one out from another now, but I'll take a look at this file and I'll see that the person has 85, I'm not kidding, 85 different spending categories. Okay? That is a lot of effort. Okay? And you'll notice here this line we have here where we're basically hitting a point of diminishing returns. As we're giving more effort, at first our return is quite high, and then you'll notice as we give more and more effort, our incremental return is less and less. I would put someone in that group sitting up here with 85 spending or savings categories that they're doing a lot of effort for not a lot of return. So one more unit of effort, the amount of return is getting very, very small for each new unit of effort that they're giving. Now, the same thing happens with accounts. I'll have someone send in a file, and on YNAB 3, you know, we have all those accounts listed on the left side, each with its own tab. Okay? When you have an account, that means that you reconcile it to your bank, you make sure that it's in sync still with your bank. You probably get an email from your bank saying your statement is ready. You probably get a 1099 for $11 of interest that you earned that year. If it's below 10, I don't think they have to send it. You have all these thoughts and all this work that's attached to each new account that you set up. So that's another instance where I would say, is it really worth setting up that new account? Is your return really equal to the effort that you're having to give for each of those new accounts? I've seen people with 16, 17, 18 different accounts. I question how much return they're getting for all the effort, is all I'm going to say. Now, that being said, I've also drawn a very lifelike scale, okay? And with those categories that we're talking about, or with these accounts, the more spending categories you have, the more granular your analysis can be. So I can have spending categories. I mentioned this on a blog several years ago, but I could have a spending category for how much I spend on toothpaste. And I could go back, and in 3 years I could say I spent that much on toothpaste, and look how it's trending upward or downward, you know, so nicely. You may not care about toothpaste, you probably shouldn't. But as you increase those categories, you force yourself to be more granular, not just in your tracking, but also in your decision making, because you're going to be saying each time you sit down to budget a paycheck, or if you're living on last month's income, then you're budgeting probably once a month with the prior month's income. Each time you sit down, you're going to be saying, okay, here's my category. You're having some thoughts about it. What do I need to do? Well, what did I do last month? What do we need to do this month? Is there anything different? You're being very granular. So you could dive down and say, these are clothing for Johnny, clothing for Annie, clothing for Stevie, and keep just granular. Or you could be less granular and say, these are kids' clothes. Or you could be even less granular and say, these are clothes. Or you could just say, these are necessities. See, you have different levels of granularity. As you become more comfortable with the budgeting process, as your accounts start to climb, their balances start to climb, you will be able to begin to collapse those categories that used to be granular into something more general and still be just fine with it. And I would maybe urge you to look at your categories and collapse them down, simplify a little bit. If you're putting in so much effort for just this small amount of return, it's not really worth it. The biggest risk that you'll have is that you require so much effort from yourself up front that you'll quit, that you'll throw in the towel. And that is the biggest danger. And so if someone comes to me and says, well, I've got these, I could do these 45 categories, or I could kind of simplify and shake it down to 25 or 20, I will always say, well, one question, how's your spending? If they say, well, I spend pretty well, I'm within my means, I'm not climbing in credit card debt, then I'd probably say, okay, don't worry about being so granular, fewer categories almost always is better, okay? Remember that. Don't require so much effort from yourself that you're setting yourself up to quit, okay? I mean, you'll be able to feel it. When you're working so hard on reconciling 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 different accounts, and this whole budgeting process is becoming just a pain, you're going to quit, okay? Now, the last thing, little secret. We've dialed down our categories personally, and I'm moving toward one single account. I used to do credit cards where one credit card where I pay it in full. Not anymore. I'm just going to get rid of it. I don't want to reconcile it. I don't want to worry about it. I'm going to have one single account in my YNAB software. I'm going to collapse my categories down significantly. I'll probably write a blog post about that. But I really want to get to where my budgeting process is just basically, these are the things I truly care about. These are the ones I really care about. And I'm going to make sure those are working. Everything else, as long as I'm staying within this container of spending, I don't even care. I don't even want to know. I don't care how much I spent on detergent versus toothpaste versus toothbrushes versus dental floss. I don't care about any of that. Okay? That's where I'm going for, because I want to be able to focus on the big wins, those categories that really mean something to me, and let everything else just kind of fall where it may. You'll find if you take care of those things first, that everything else works out for itself. Anyway, that's a Whiteboard Wednesday. If you have any ideas for another topic I could cover, go ahead and leave them in a comment down below, and I'll try and cover it. And if this is worth sharing with your friends, please send it along to your friends. Help us spread the word about YNAB. Thanks.